Here are the top stories for today, April 14, 2021. The country's regulatory agency is keeping a close watch on reports of blood clotting caused by Johnson & Johnson's Janssen vaccines, even as it continues to review the firm's bid for emergency use authorization. More isolation facilities, a mega quarantine facility and a campus opens in Subic, Zambales and is set to help boost the country's capacity to treat and isolate mild and asymptomatic patients. Boosting cooperation, President Rodrigo Duterte and Russian President Vladimir Putin vows to work together against COVID-19 and in pursuing stronger ties in various fields. And Japan releases contaminated radioactive wastewater in Fukushima Prefecture into the sea amid domestic and international opposition. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. A thorough review of 2 more vaccines against COVID-19 is underway. Food and Drug Administration Director General Eric Domingo says these are Johnson & Johnson's Janssen jabs and the Covaxin from India's Bharat Biotech. Domingo says he expects to get the recommendations from the panel of evaluators on the Janssen vaccine within this week. Meanwhile, the FDA is waiting for Covaxin to submit a certification of compliance with good manufacturing practices, which is among the requirements for the EUA. Domingo also assured that the cases of blood clotting reportedly caused by Janssen vaccine is being scrutinized by evaluators in coming up with recommendations. This came as the rollout of Janssen jabs was halted in the United States and Europe over these concerns. Johnson & Johnson has applied for an EUA from the country's FDA in late March.
Ito kasing Janssen na bakuna, very similar din siya sa AstraZeneca, no? Ito mga adenoviral na vector vaccines. At ito nga yung isang nakikita, itong possible na very rare cases of blood clotting. So kung patapos naman po ang evaluation nito at magkaroon ng recommendation, of course it will probably have recommendations then on how to guide vaccinators at saka yung mga vaccinists to watch out for such events at saka ano pong gagawin pag may naramdaman sila.
The government's capacity to isolate and treat COVID-19 cases got a boost with the opening of another mega quarantine facility, this time in Subic, Zambales today. Testing Czar Secretary Vince Dizon and Treatment Czar Undersecretary Leopoldo Vega and other officials led the inauguration of the facility at the Manila Times College Subic campus. The facility has a 300-bed capacity for mild and asymptomatic patients, is expected to help accommodate patients from North Luzon, National Capital Region, and Central Luzon. It is equipped with hospital beds, tables, air conditioning units, and Wi-Fi connection. A modular hospital with an additional 100-bed capacity is also expected to be constructed inside the facility. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PHIVOLCS, has recorded 383 volcanic earthquakes in TAAL volcano for the past 24 hours. PHIVOLCS said these include 238 episodes of volcanic tremor lasting from 1 to 12 minutes and 143 low-frequency volcanic earthquakes. It also observed an upwelling of hot volcanic fluids in the main crater lake on Tuesday that generated 300 meters tall steam-laden plumes. PHIVOLCS reiterates that entry into the TAAL volcano island and permanent danger zone must be strictly prohibited. It also advised the local government to continuously assess and strengthen the preparedness of previously evacuated barangays in case of renewed unrest. President Rodrigo Duterte has signed Executive Order number 129, creating the Office of the Presidential Advisor on Streamlining of Government Processes. Under the EO, the new office shall recommend measures and policies that will further simplify processes and cut red tape in the executive branch, as well as local government units. It will also coordinate with the Anti-Red Tape Authority in promoting a predictable business environment and reduce uncertainty in government transactions. President Duterte appointed former Cabinet Secretary Leoncio Jun Evasco Jr. as the presidential advisor on streamlining of government processes. The Philippines and Russia seek to enhance economic ties to combat the current COVID-19 pandemic. This as the two countries commemorate the 45th anniversary of diplomatic relations this year. In a 30-minute TELESUMMIT, President Rodrigo Duterte and Russian President Vladimir Putin discussed both global and regional vaccine landscapes. They also emphasized the need to mobilize COVID-19 vaccines like Russia's Sputnik V to as many countries as possible. The two leaders also noted the steady progress in defense and security cooperation between the two countries. President Duterte reiterated during the TeleSummit his invitation for President Putin to visit the Philippines as soon as circumstances would allow, which the Russian leader welcomed. The Philippines eyes to procure 20 million doses of Sputnik V from Russia. Around 500,000 Sputnik V vaccines are expected to arrive this month. AYUDA payout in Barangay Upper Bicutan, Taguig was temporarily suspended due to massive crowding. This after some individuals who were not on the list of the Social Amelioration Program flocked to the venue. They said individuals threatened and attempted to hurt the social workers, security staff, and policemen in the venue. The local government said it will resume the cash aid distribution as soon as the safety of the beneficiaries and the government workers is ensured. It also appeals to the residents to remain calm and respect the rules laid down by the national government. Meanwhile, a liquor ban is in effect in Quezon City until April 30. Mayor Joy Belmonte signed a memorandum prohibiting all retail sales of alcoholic beverage for the duration of the modified enhanced community quarantine status. And in Manila, residents need to show their quarantine pass when going out to buy their essential needs. The local government reiterates that only authorized persons outside of residence are allowed. Still to come, Malacanang says senators are free to exercise their power over the government's move to lower pork import duties. And it's a no for Negros Occidental's bid to shift to general community quarantine. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Alamin kung paano ang tamang pagsusuot ng surgical mask. Una, hawakan ang mask sa strap at siguruhing natatakpan nito ang inyong bibig at ilong. Tandaan, ang may kulay na bahagi ng mask ang dapat nasa labas. Ito lamang ang tamang paraan ng pagsuot nito. Ihulma ang nose piece o maliit na metallic strip ayon sa hugis ng inyong ilong. Iwasan ang paghawak sa inyong ilong at bibig. Kung marumi na ang mask, hubarin ito gamit ang strap at itapon ito sa isang basurahan. Siguruhin ang maayos na paghuhugas ng kamay gamit ang sabon at tubig. Ang surgical mask ay dapat gamitin ng mga pasyenteng may sakit sa baga o mga taong mayroong ubo, sipon at lagnat, mga nag-aalaga sa mga may sakit, at mga healthcare at frontline workers. Maaari ring magsuot nito kung kayo ay pupunta sa matataong lugar. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
The government's move to temporarily cut import duties on pork did not sit well with some senators. Malacanang, however, said legislators are free to exercise their power on the matter as they deem necessary. The details from Marita Mawai.
Malacanang welcomes the move of some senators who want to reverse Executive Order number 128, which temporarily lowers tariff rates on pork imports. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said the measure is only a delegated power given by Congress to the President, and the President can still exercise his veto power in case he raises objection to certain provisions in the tariff bill. President Rodrigo Duterte signed the executive order to augment the shortage of pork in the market. Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon, Senators Cynthia Villar and Francis Pangilinan said they will revoke the order through a joint resolution of Congress, saying the order affects the local hog raisers in the country. Last month, Senator Panfilo Lacson proposed the probe on the claims that a syndicate is at work profiting as much as 6 billion pesos from the crisis brought by the spread of African swine fever. For its part, the Department of Agriculture maintains that no officials are involved in the alleged tongpats or price padding on pork imports. In a Senate hearing, Agriculture Secretary William Dar said he will never allow any corrupt practice under his stead and leadership. DA spokesperson Noel Reyes meanwhile said they have conducted internal investigations on the alleged 5 pesos to 7 pesos tongpats or price padding on pork imports. He said there was no evidence or proof that such a scheme among DA officials exists. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Muaje.
The Department of Education sees no need for academic break despite the request of some learners due to lack of gadgets to be used for learning. In a televised public briefing, DEPED Undersecretary Diosdado San Antonio said teachers and some learners believe that learning need not stop amid pandemic as there are different ways to learn, such as the use of printed self-learning modules. San Antonio reminded teachers not to be very strict with the deadlines and to monitor the learners if they need support. To date, almost 2.7 million enrollees have taken part in the early registration in public schools. The Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases has denied the request of Governor Eugenio Jose Lacson to place Negros Occidental under a general community quarantine. The IATF-EID said the latest active cases logged by the province did not qualify for the escalation of its current status of Modified General Community Quarantine or MGCQ to GCQ. For Lacson, the request is part of the local government's proactive role to prevent the spike of coronavirus disease in their province. He said he will no longer seek a reconsideration, but the provincial government will instead impose stricter measures, especially in leisure travel, which could include the closure of resorts in the province for 2 weeks. Bacolod City received about 25,000 face shields for its frontline care of Malacanang. Meanwhile, the Mariano Marcos Memorial Hospital and Medical Center is converting some of its rooms to accommodate more COVID-19 patients. These in today's provincial roundup from Chris Mundo.
Barangay frontliners and other essential workers in Bacolod City received 25,000 face shields from the Office of the President. The city government distributed 1,500 pieces to City Hall frontliners after turning over the initial 18,000 pieces to those in the 61 barangays on Monday. The remaining 5,500 pieces will be distributed to the city market vendors. Mayor Evelio Leonardo said he appreciates the donation from President Rodrigo Duterte, as he also thanked Presidential Assistant for the Visayas, Michael Lloyd Dino, for facilitating the assistance for Bacolod. In Ilocos Norte, the state-run Mariano Marcos Memorial Hospital and Medical Center is converting at least 10 rooms of its 5-story new building to accommodate more patients with COVID-19. From the original 2-story building dedicated for COVID-19 patients, they are allotting another new building as the number of COVID-19 infections continue to rise in the province. The hospital admitted that since last week, their 27-bed capacity for COVID-19 patients is already under critical level as they have been treating 30 patients to date. As of April 12, Ilocos Norte logged a total of 299 COVID-19 active cases. Meanwhile, 8 healthcare workers from General Santos City left for the National Capital Region on Monday to augment a hospital's workforce in the wake of the continuing surge of COVID-19 cases. The nurses of the St. Elizabeth Hospital volunteered for temporary deployment at the Cardinal Santos Medical Center in San Juan City. During the initial stages of the pandemic last year, 8 of its nurses also volunteered to be assigned at the Our Lady of Lourdes Hospital in Manila. St. Elizabeth Hospital, which is operated by the Metro Pacific Hospital Holdings, is one of the city's 6 referral facilities for COVID-19 patients. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Mundo.
In our business news, more Filipinos now depend on online shopping amid the pandemic based on a survey by Facebook's Emerging Trends Research. The survey showed that marketers who were able to shift digitally profited greatly, and consumers will likely use online shopping for their convenience. The study indicated 87% of respondents are willing to spend more for ease of access to products or services. Among Philippines-based respondents, 93% said they highly consider convenience and price when deciding on what to buy. 87% of Filipino respondents said that social media allowed them to interact more and deepen their relationship with brands. 80% were also interested in trying new and different ways of shopping. Meanwhile, 90% of respondents opt for mobile payments should they be made more available. Facebook vowed to launch more tools to add to the convenience of consumers, particularly on payment options. Up next, a not-so-good milestone, ILOCOS logs its first case of the COVID-19 UK variant. And Japan is unfazed by opposition as it releases wastewater from the Fukushima power plant into the sea. Details ahead. Stay with the PNA Newsroom.
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. ILOCOS has reported its first case of the more contagious UK variant of COVID-19. The provincial government on Tuesday confirmed that a 58-year-old female agriculturist of the National Tobacco Administration based in Candon City tested positive for the UK variant. Governor Ryan Luis Singson said the resident of Barangay Luba, Santa Lucia was exposed to a fellow employee, an authorized person outside residence from Rosario, La Union. Singson said the APOR traveled to Metro Manila and met with agriculturalists in Ilocos Sur upon his return. From that meeting, there was a surge of COVID-19 cases in the province. The governor appealed to all those who have been in contact with a 58-year-old patient to cooperate and submit themselves to swab testing. The Department of Agrarian Reform launched an irrigation project that will serve as a farm-to-market road that will serve 2 towns in Lanao del Norte. Claire Gighe has the story.
The Department of Agrarian Reform 10 or DAR 10 turned over the Bualan Communal Irrigation Project to Barangay Bualan in the municipality of Tubud and the Kadayunan Maganding Madaya Farm to Market Road to the municipality of Munay, all in the province of Lanao del Norte. Such projects were materialized under the implementation of the DAR Mindanao Sustainable Agrarian and Agricultural Development or MINSAAD together with the Japan International Cooperation Agency. The Bualan Communal Irrigation Project, aided by the National Irrigation Administration 10 or NIA 10 will bring service to 50 families and will water a 100-hectare service area, while the construction of FMR project through the Department of Public Works and Highways 10 or DPWH 10 will give advantage to 3 barangays of the municipality of Munay, which are Cadayunan, Maganding, and Badaya, and some cities of the neighboring municipalities including Bacolod and Maigo. This will shorten the travel time from farms to market. DART 10 Regional Director Zoraida Makadindang stressed how fortunate the said municipalities are.
The residents of Tubod, particularly in Bualan and in Munay, are very lucky nga sila tong napili o qualify nga makadawat niini nga projects.
Provincial Vice Governor Maria Cristina Atay notified the recipients of the said project to take care of it so that future generations may also benefit from it. Meanwhile, recipients of the newly turned over projects expressed their joy as they wholeheartedly embrace the effort of the DART 10 and its stakeholders in improving their life.
It is with great honor and humility to accept this said project, Walan Communal Irrigation Project.
Nalipay ko kining project na nahatag sa among barangay sa Munay. Wala kami ka tilaw kung si mayong nasada. Karon pa.
For PNA Newsroom, Claire Gighe of the Philippine Information Agency, Iligan City Information Center.
A manhunt operation has been ordered against a band of communist terrorists responsible for burning 5 million pesos worth of construction equipment in Surigao City on April 12. The police regional office in Caraga said a number of New People's Army rebels torched the equipment at a construction site in Barangay Mapawa. The company that owns the equipment is working on the completion of a farm-to-market road project in the area. PRO 13 Director Brigadier General Romeo Karamat Jr. said they are looking into extortion as a motive behind the said attack. He said the NPA's Guerrilla Front 16B members were involved in the incident. He said the attack ruined the hopes of farmers who are expecting the completion of the farm-to-market road. Meanwhile, 5 far-flung villages of the municipality of San Joaquin, Iloilo, decried the atrocities of the CPP-NPA and DF. The villagers of rebel-influenced villages of Kadluman, Igdagmay, Igliliko, Igpayong, and San Mateo held rallies from March 30 to April 1. The participants demanded an end to their extortion, harassments, and threats to the locals and recruitment and exploitation of the youth and indigenous peoples. They also held the signing of a wall of commitment followed by the oath of allegiance to the government and the burning of CPP-NPA and DF flags. The Army 61st Infantry Battalion distributed food packs and leaflets on the Enhanced Comprehensive Local Integration Program, or ECLIP, to encourage rebels to surrender and lead normal lives. In our overseas news, the Japanese government has decided to discharge contaminated radioactive wastewater in Fukushima Prefecture into the sea amid domestic and international opposition. Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga made the announcement after his ministers met to formalize plans to release the radioactive water from the plant into the Pacific Ocean. Back in March 11, 2011, after northeast Japan was struck by a magnitude 9 earthquake and tsunami, the number 1 to 3 reactors at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant suffered core meltdowns. The plant has been generating massive amounts of radiation-tainted water since then. The local fish industry and the public, however, opposed the plan. They said the release of radioactive water could trigger other countries to tighten restrictions on imports. The plan also raised concerns from neighboring countries about possible negative impact on people's health and fishery businesses. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources has ordered the closure of 17 inland resorts in General Santos City and Polomoc, South Cotabato for violation of the forestry law. These resorts are within areas classified as timberland or forest land not covered by the Forest Land Use Agreement for Tourism or FLAG-T. The agreement authorizes a project developer to occupy, manage, and develop public forest land for tourism purposes. Elvira Lumayag, head of the Community Environment and Natural Resources Office, said the resort owners and operators have violated forestry laws, meaning they have no permit to use the forest lands in their areas for tourism. Several resort owners have meanwhile sought authority to continue with their operations while in the process of complying with the requirements under the Flag T. Here is the latest in our community billboard. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources has opened a drawing contest for 6 to 12-year-old Filipinos nationwide in celebration of Earth Day 2021. The Idudal Mo Kid with the theme Restore Our Earth aims to raise Filipino children's awareness about caring for the environment. Contestants must use pen and pencils to doodle on paper and other materials. All entries for Idudal Mo Kid must be original and not yet submitted to other competitions. The contest also has a junior category for 6 to 9-year-olds and a senior category for 10 to 12-year-olds. Winners will receive 3,000 pesos in cash, art supplies worth 3,000 pesos, a collapsible tumbler, bamboo notebook, eco bag, reusable lunchbox, and books. The entry with the most likes and shares on Facebook will win 2,000 pesos as a special prize. Those interested in joining Idudal Mo Kid can send their entries to emb.centraloffice@gmail.com. The deadline for submitting entries is on April 23, 2021. Here's another look at today's biggest stories. The country's regulatory agency is keeping a close watch on reports of blood clotting caused by Johnson & Johnson's Janssen vaccines, even as it continues to review the firm's bid for emergency use authorization. More isolation facilities, a mega quarantine facility, and a campus opens in Subic, Zambales, and is set to help boost the country's capacity to treat and isolate mild and asymptomatic patients. Boosting cooperation, President Rodrigo Duterte and Russian President Vladimir Putin vows to work together against COVID-19 and in pursuing stronger ties in various fields. And Japan releases contaminated radioactive wastewater in Fukushima Prefecture into the sea amid domestic and international opposition. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, visit our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day.